asked what's most important to him in shooting a film, cinematographer Robby Muller shares a lesson he learned from Australian filmmaker Peter Henke. The images must have power. I think the power of Muller's images is owed to his unique style of filmmaking. He's most comfortable working on a low budget with a small crew, harkening back to his education as a filmmaker in late 60s Holland, where there was no established film industry. He's most concerned with locations and natural lighting, and is uninterested in having the most expensive technology or advanced shooting equipment at his disposal. He likes to operate the camera himself, rather than hire a cameraman. He never works with a second shooting unit, never uses zoom lenses, and he prefers to shoot in chronological order. Muller began his feature career making films with German director Wim Wenders, and between 1970 and 1977, the two would make 8 films together. In 1983, after 5 years apart working on other projects, Wenders and Muller would come together once again to make what would become their most renowned film, the one that stands today as the strongest example of the power of Muller's images: Paris, Texas.
I just assume the both of us keep our mouths shut for the whole rest of the trip. You know, what?
Paris.
After spending 3 months exploring the American West in 1983, director Wim Wenders wanted to make an American story. Working with screenwriter Sam Shepard, the two developed an idea for a story about a broken family, a road trip, a dream of escaping to a little piece of land out west, and redemption. For the first time in his career, Wenders did not storyboard any of the film before on-location rehearsals. He, along with his cinematographer, wanted to be inspired by the places he was shooting rather than his memory of these places in cinema. And this creates a really interesting effect. Muller shoots in a way that avoids showing off locations. He leans away from showing a place too proudly or portraying it in a way that overshadows the story. Despite this, his photography embraces the beauty of the landscape and, most notably, uses color to great effect to symbolize different themes and ideas. All throughout the film, we see the reoccurring use of the colors red, white, and blue. These colors can be found on the flags of Texas and France, but are most commonly used as the colors of America, connected to themes of progress, movement, and control. The stars and stripes themselves can be seen sprinkled throughout the film, on the signposts of the Marathon Hotel, through Travis's binoculars, and on Hunter's jacket. In the opening scene, Travis is wearing a red cap and white shirt, framed against a blue sky with white clouds while he crosses a vast desert, evoking the tone of American Western films of the 50s. These are also the colors used in the set dressing of Walter and Anne's house, an American family home, and the motel room where Travis gets a haircut and a shave, beginning his progress back into civilization. In contrast, green and black are used as symbols of stillness, lack of control, and connection. When Travis collapses and is examined by the doctor, his aimless trek across the desert is halted, and he's shown awash in green, having gone from movement to stillness. When Walter and Travis reach LA and Travis and his son Hunter are reunited for the first time in the film, it's in a room with green wallpaper and green carpet. And on the road, phone booths are often shown to have a green hue, as a point of connection over long distances, but also a stopping point along a road trip. They provide both connection and stillness. This use of green light in the film was a deliberate choice by Muller and Wenders, resulting from the use of fluorescent lights that went uncorrected. On most productions, the director of photography or print lab would attempt to correct any fluorescence that produced false colors. But on Paris, Texas, Wenders and Muller decided to keep the green hue and use it to full effect. Here's Wim Wenders talking about the use of green in the director's commentary track.
You'll see the strange green light quite often in the film, and that's because Robby and I had decided not to correct some of the neon lights. Normally you would correct them. On any other shoot, the electricians would take all these neons out and put color-corrected ones in there, because any lab in the world will tell you this is a mistake, this green light. But we made use of the so-called mistake all through the film, and it gave a very special look to some of the scenes.
While this red, white, and blue versus green and black dichotomy appears frequently, sometimes colors are also used individually to convey certain ideas, like how yellow is used in relation with youth, memory, and family. When Travis has a conversation with Walter's housekeeper about fatherhood, she's wearing a yellow apron as she speaks to him from her perspective as a daughter. In the very next scene, when Travis goes to meet Hunter and walk him home from school, there's a yellow school bus parked outside, and Hunter is wearing a yellow t-shirt. And of course, there's the 8mm home video that they watch, with its yellow hue of the past, showing Travis and his once happy family. The color blue is associated with freedom, wide open spaces, and travel, borrowing a part of the Americana from that red, white, and blue. These endless blue skies provide the backdrop of the road trips and emphasize the vast flatness of the land. Most of the vehicles in the film come in various shades of blue, like Walter's rental car, with its dull blue paint that matches all of the other rental cars on the lot. Likewise, the white aircraft has a blue logo, and Travis drives a Ford Ranchero with a two-tone blue paint job. But the other half of that Americana comes from the film's use of red. In conventional color theory, red is often used to symbolize love, anger, and violence. And this is true of Paris, Texas. When we first see Jane, Travis's estranged wife, she's driving a red car, wearing a red sweater, and she works under the red lights of this seedy strip club. Jane is overwhelmingly associated with red because of her past with Travis, as his former lover, and, as we learn from Travis's confession near the end of the film, as the victim of his violent alcoholic tendencies. But more commonly, the film uses red as the color of disconnection. In the opening scene of the film, Travis emerges from the desert in a red cap, which disappears from his wardrobe after he begins traveling with Walter. In this deleted scene, Walter puts away the red cap in the motel, corresponding with Travis's beginning to reconnect with his brother and reconnect with civilization at large. Later on in the film, after he refuses to walk home with Travis, Hunter sits in the family car in the garage, a red VW, feeling disconnected from his long-lost father. It's also worth noting this is one of the only non-blue vehicles in the movie, and thus is only seen unmoving in the garage. When Travis sees Jane for the first time in the film, both are dressed in red, as Jane is unable to see him through this one-way glass. Travis is unable to open up to her, and afterwards he goes to a bar to get drunk, all the while surrounded by red. This color palette of greens, reds, blues, and yellows can create striking imagery when used individually, but these colors become most effective when used together. Like how red and green are sometimes used in contrast with one another, symbolizing moments of disconnection versus moments of connection. As Travis enters the club, he goes from being engulfed in green to surrounded by red. He goes from a place of connection with his son, who's out waiting in the car, into this unusual place to find Jane, who he hasn't seen in 4 years. Or in moments like this one, where green and blue are used as colors of the road. The quiet, empty train tracks against the wide-open blue sky, contrasting stillness and nature with travel and wide-open spaces. Or in this scene, when Travis and Walter are stopped at a diner on the way to the airport, lit mostly in yellows and reds. Walter asks Travis if he remembers his son Hunter, bringing up painful memories for Travis, who, at this point in the film, hasn't spoken a word to anyone. There's yellow for memory and past, and red for disconnection. Sometimes the film uses red, blue, and green together to represent more complex ideas, not just contrasting one against another, but creating these mutual contradictions. Like when Travis and Hunter are on the road to find Jane. There's blue sky, the blue ranchero, their red shirts, and the green of the landscape. There's stillness and connection as they're stopped on the side of the road under winding overpasses and blue skies, but also disconnection as these two people who barely know each other go looking for someone else who they're not even sure wants to be found. And this is a common motif in Paris, Texas, the mix of red, blue, and green. 3 incompatible colors representing 2 opposing ideas, but existing together as one. And maybe the most powerful use of this is in its final scenes. Travis, dressed in black in a green room, records a goodbye message to Hunter before going to see Jane once again. She listens to Travis over the phone, also dressed in black, and this time she realizes who she's talking to. They share an emotional exchange, a moment of connection, before Travis tells Jane where to find Hunter. She goes to the hotel with its green windows in the background, and there she finds Hunter, dressed in green, ready to embrace his mother. All the while, Travis watches from below, bathed in green light as the red and blue sunset looms in the background. He gets back in his Ranchero and drives off, leaving Houston behind him. The last we see of Travis is his face illuminated by the red hue of taillights on the highway, disconnected from his family once again. It's a bittersweet ending for a bittersweet character. Travis finds some redemption in reuniting Jane and Hunter, but because he was the cause of their suffering, he's unable to be with them. By the end of the film, Travis is a different man than we thought him to be at the beginning, and this ending fits the character we've come to know. Off on the road again, unable to truly settle, but also having made peace with his past. It's this idea of mutual contradictions, of 2 opposing ideas of once, of perception versus truth, that are the central ideas behind this film. Paris, Texas is a contradiction, bringing with it both the French opulence of Paris and the American ruggedness of Texas. 2 seemingly incompatible ideas coming together as one. It's a contemporary American Western created with European art film sensibilities, all at once an expansive epic and an intimate family drama. But what I love most about Paris, Texas is the beauty of its images, and how those images help to tell that story through the power of color.